Elon Musk vs. Oprah, the secret war uncovered at the Met Gala. At the height of Manhattan's glitziest evening, the Met Gala, a storm was brewing just beyond the diamond-studded smiles and red carpet camera flashes. Beneath the surface of elegance and formality, a tension had been growing for weeks, one that was about to explode in public view. Elon Musk had attended the event not to network, not to flaunt wealth or style, but with a mission: to confront someone who had unexpectedly turned against him. Oprah Winfrey. To the public, Elon and Oprah were two titans of influence in entirely different spheres, one wielding power through innovation, the other through empathy and cultural legacy. But beneath that contrast lay a web of crossed wires, silent cancellations, and unseen manipulations. It had begun quietly, weeks earlier, when Elon had been invited to appear on Oprah's private podcast series. The show, lauded for unfiltered moments, with controversial guests, was pitched as a chance to discuss the future of humanity, AI, and speech in a changing world. But days before the scheduled recording, Elon received a brief email. The invitation had been revoked. No explanation. The only detail offered was that the format no longer fit the vision for the season. Musk, accustomed to both admiration and vilification, might have shrugged it off, until the media picked up whispers of the real reason. One anonymous source told a well-known entertainment outlet that Oprah's team had deemed Musk too unstable for public conversation. Another reported that advisors close to the show believed his presence would harm the brand's credibility. Suddenly, it wasn't just an unbooked podcast, it was a campaign. Subtle but deliberate. Networks distanced themselves. A former collaborator on an environmental campaign withdrew from a Tesla-sponsored initiative. Even Oprah's social media channels, typically silent on controversy, liked a post that described Elon as a reckless billionaire. It wasn't just bad press, it was surgical. It felt designed. So when Elon saw Oprah that night at the gala, standing beneath the marble pillars by the museum's fountain, alone for the moment in a cascade of pearls and poise, he saw more than a television icon. He saw the person who had unleashed a wave of quiet reputational collapse without ever speaking a word. He approached her calmly, methodically. But the confrontation was not private for long. Dozens of onlookers watched from behind velvet ropes and flower arrangements. The music dulled in the background, replaced by murmurs and hushed gasps. It wasn't shouting that followed, but the intensity of the exchange, Elon's focused expression, Oprah's defensive posture, that told the room this was not a pleasantry. And then, something strange happened. As Elon walked away from the encounter, the press surged forward. Oprah didn't follow. She remained still, staring down at her phone, her face drained of its earlier composure. One of her assistants rushed over and whispered something urgently. A second later, Oprah was hustled back inside, avoiding all cameras. That's when the real twist began. Unknown to almost everyone, Elon had arrived that evening with more than words. Over the past week, he had begun to investigate the fallout of the podcast cancellation. And what he'd uncovered wasn't just public relations sabotage, it was something deeper. Leaked memos from Oprah's media team had shown unusual language, unusually specific pressure from unnamed consultants, references to meetings with federal liaisons, and communications advisors. Then came the email Elon wasn't supposed to see. Forwarded to him by a disillusioned tech executive who had once consulted for Oprah's network. The message was short but damning. He's too disruptive. Keep him out of the ecosystem until after Q4. Use public pressure if needed. It was dated the same week Oprah canceled the podcast. The sender? A media liaison working on a joint political initiative, one with federal ties. It became clear that Oprah may not have acted alone. In fact, she may not have known the full extent of what was being done under her name. But Elon, never one to wait quietly, wanted to confront her face to face. Not for spectacle, but to see her reaction. To read her unfiltered. He wanted to know, was she part of it? Or just the face used to deliver the blow? That moment at the gala answered only half the question. Oprah had looked genuinely caught off guard by some of his accusations. And when the assistant whispered in her ear just moments later, She didn't look victorious, she looked rattled. Someone had told her something that shifted her footing. And within 10 minutes she was gone. Later that night, something even stranger occurred. Elon's private jet was grounded just minutes before takeoff. Not delayed. Grounded. The pilot received a coded message from air traffic control with an urgent override. When Elon inquired through official channels, there was no record of a weather advisory or technical malfunction. The jet had been deliberately blocked. Temporarily, but enough to raise eyebrows. Then came the call. An unmarked number. A quiet voice. The request was direct. Elon was to attend a private meeting with a federal intermediary. It wasn't a summons. But it wasn't optional either. In a nondescript conference room beneath an anonymous office building in Midtown, Elon was shown documents, real documents. Logs. Transcripts. Intelligence summaries. All centered around a multi-agency media, containment, strategy. And Oprah's name? Mentioned repeatedly. Not as a conspirator, but as a vessel. A tool used because of her influence, her trustworthiness, her power to sway public sentiment without scrutiny. They hadn't told her everything. They hadn't needed to. The damage was already done. That same night, at her hotel suite, Oprah found a sealed envelope waiting on her bed. No sender. Inside, a flash drive. And a note that read, "Watch this. Then decide who you really work for." The footage on the drive was shocking. Clips from her own network's back channels. Meetings she hadn't attended. Scripts rewritten. Messages rerouted. One thread connected them all, a quiet but aggressive campaign to neutralize Elon Musk's influence, before the next election. The strategy had a name. Project Quiet Signal. And she had been its perfect messenger. Oprah sat in silence for nearly an hour. Her hands shook. Her carefully controlled world, her influence, used like a glove. And now, with the entire internet buzzing about the confrontation at the Met, she understood the full cost of what had been set in motion. She had not merely snubbed Elon Musk. She had become the front for something that now spiraled far beyond either of them. And somewhere, deep in a quiet room, Elon Musk prepared for what came next. Because now, the game had changed. They had tried to divide the giants. But giants don't fall easily. And sometimes they don't fall at all. They rise.